the first time since 1969, the Sports Car Club of America's National Championship Runoffs returned to one of their historic homes, Daytona. Welcome to the 52nd SCCA Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb at Daytona International Speedway, brought to you by Mazda. The run for the medals begins now. A beautiful but warm day here at Daytona International Speedway as we are set to determine our 7th national championship of this 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs presented by Garmin Verb. Our coverage of Formula 500 and the run to the medals brought to you by Mazda. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Jeff Lepper, Hayward Wagner down in pit lane, and it has been a busy day today, Jeff. Lots more yet to come, obviously, but this one, Formula 500, these cars, man, they're short, small wheelbase, nimble. They're going to be fun and interesting up here on the long banking, and once they get into the twisty bits, they absolutely fly. And for a bit more on what we're going to see, let's check in on pit lane with Hayward Wagner.
Guys, it has warmed up quite a bit as today has gone on. These Formula 5s are most of the ones at the front of the field are running bike motors. So we're going to have similar challenges to we had in P2 with heat management, but this is going to be a great race. We have some really interesting personalities here in the F5 field.
Boy, that we do, no question about it. And one of them is the guy on pole. That is Clint McMahon, out of Covington, Georgia. And he runs the mid-Georgia region. He's driving the Simcraft Satellite Racing Scorpion Rotax-powered machine. And that is the car that sits on the pole here. And what we want to do right now, though, is give you a look at this track from the perspective of the drivers. And for that, it is our Garmin Verb Fast Lap with Calvin Stewart, qualified second in the 07 Nova race in Sabbath Truth entrance. That is the Novacar Blade Suzuki.
Yeah, you see the good shot here right over the arrow of the bodywork coming down in turn number 1. And I was talking with Hayward Wagner during our recap shows Monday through Thursday night here at Daytona International Speedway, and 156 miles an hour for an F500 car through the speed trap on the banking. And I don't know what's more sketchy, Michael Lewis in his GT1 car doing 197 or 156 in this short little wheelbase car. I got to think that, running 800 pounds at 156 miles an hour, like I said with Hayward, sketchy.
Yeah, and when these things spin, because of that short wheelbase, they spin like a top. So, I mean, everything happens so quickly in these cars. And fear not, folks, this is not a live shot. So when you had that big look at those real dark clouds, this was recorded earlier in the weekend. So that's not what we're looking at right now. But as you can see, you know, in this category for a while, a lot of people would say, well, there's no suspension in these cars. There's some.
Yeah, there is. A great onboard here from that Garmin Verb. You can really see the wishbones and that upright going up and down. And it's not a traditional wishbone suspension with a shock in the middle of it. It's more just like a rubber bushing or a rubber puck in there, and that sort of flexes it, moves up and down with that wishbone. You can really get a good onboard here, a shot of that as they come down through NASCAR turn number 2 into the bus stop there, trying to catch a little bit of a draft from the car in front of them. So I think each of our categories here, the draft plays a factor. You see the arrow that he has on the body here, and the nose swoops down as he gets into the braking zone.
Absolutely, and you can see here as they make that run now into the bus stop here. And again, this is that Garmin Verb Fast Lap, just to give you the perspective from the driver here up onto the banking once again. And you can see, obviously, that that suspension. Once you get into the banking on these cars, they don't make a ton of downforce, Jeff. So there's not massive compression here, is there?
No, there's not. You really see it sort of levels that wishbone out, makes it perfectly straight. As these F500 cars were qualifying with the Formula V cars, I believe, as Formula F, I apologize, as they're coming down through the tri-oval and completes a lap with our Garmin Verb Fast Lap.
Absolutely, that's Calvin Stewart, who we were riding with. He starts in the 2nd spot, and with that, let's check back in with Hayward.
Formula 5 rolling off the grid, Clint McMahon, your pole sitter. If there is a driver at the runoffs who will go for a gap, it is Clint McMahon. These guys are driving right on the racing surface. Very limited suspension movement here. These cars don't use a traditional shock and spring. It's a urethane puck that's in the suspension system that compresses and releases. 156 miles an hour clocked on Monday qualifying in the Calvin Stewart car. This is going to be one heck of a race to watch.
Boy, it is. And I'll tell you, the guy who qualified 4th, that is James White, he was the one who was favored by Sports Car Magazine to take the win here. Jack Walbrand, who was even farther back in the order, was the guy everybody thought might be in with a podium shot as well. He didn't qualify any better than 13th, so he's got some work to do. And Clint McMahon, he goes by Wiley sometimes as well, and I think it's because of his racecraft. He's that kind of a guy. Was also picked for a potential podium here. He did put it on pole, and an absolutely great run for him. He never has put that gold medal around his neck, so you know he is hungry. Made hungrier still by the fact he's twice had silver medals draped around his neck, and the most recent last year at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. So if anything, this guy wants to get it done.
Yeah, and unfortunately just a heartbreak at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, where he actually had a broken suspension after the first lap and nursed that car to that second place finish. Can he keep it together here and get his first national championship in the F500 category?
Yeah, and Cal Stewart kind of in the same boat. I mean, he had a third in 2001 at Mid-Ohio in this category. He was fourth last year, so he too has been dancing with those medals, but never been able to put that one in the bag here. And as you take a look at the grid going across the top of the screen, Matt Strand qualified third, Jeff. He is in his first Runoffs competition, so a great run for him in that satellite racing Simcraft. That's the FDS Suzuki powered machine. Then Wida, who has a national championship, won it 2 years ago, 2013 at Road America in Formula 500.
Also won in 2010, so sitting there with two of those on that. And then the June Sprints winner this year, which is really the prelude to the runoff, so to speak. If you can win the June Sprints and then get the runoffs and win your division to get that super sweep to make the super sweep eligible. So you see if Clint McMahon at peak power. And I like these cars because it's mostly the home-built chassis. You kind of tinker and engineer with these cars. They do have some purpose-built chassis as well, but it really leaves the door open for that home engineering on how you want to make it work.
And you did mention super sweep eligible Jack Walbrand, who was the conference champ in not one but two divisions, Midwest and Southeastern. And he also he got that big win at NOLA, which was one of those qualifying events. So that's part of the story here. And you take a look at the chassis, and if it says Nova car, that tells you something. That's a machine that Brian Novak has had a hand in running, of course, who was the defending national champion, running Formula Atlantic this one, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll see Brian Novak, his son, running that Formula Atlantic Championship with that brand new Honda motor, but it's all about Rotax and Suzuki's, it seems, here in this class. The motorcycle engines, of course, the Rotax, a snowmobile-based two-cylinder motor, and then, of course, Suzuki, a motorcycle-based engine. So different layouts, how this is going to play out. Will heat be a factor? Will the tires be a factor? We'll see how this plays out. They're out on NASCAR turn number 4 now. Yeah, in the modified pro snowcross classes, that's a Rotax engine that runs in the Ski-Doos. So that's what it's based on, and it generates some significant grunt. So this one should be fun. And we are now completing the pace lap. And boy, they are right up behind that pace car, Jeff. Yeah, I don't think they want to give up any bit of ground here during their championship races. 16 cars set to take the green flag here for the Formula 500 National Championship race. You'll know when the green comes out. There's the scream. We are green. 14 laps to determine our national champion in Formula 500. And a nice move there by Stewart from the outside, Jeff. Sweeping in and a big wiggle by McMahon. And that might open the door up for Matt Strand to dive down underneath. But look at the counter move by McMahon to try. And he does, right back in front. It's sure these short little wheelbase cars can really put the car wherever they want on the track. Is down to the inside is Strand trying to make the move over Calvin Stewart. I don't think he's going to have the momentum on the outside, but will he? As Strand gets a little bit loose, now Stewart back into second. And coming up right behind now, making the move as well, I think is James Wida, who got a good run and trying to make it 3 abreast down there. I didn't want to say 3 Wida down through there, so tough deal here, but I'll tell you, the battling at the front already, and now making the move Strand does. Well, I was going to say does make it stick, but Calvin Stewart just able to keep that momentum alive so well around the outside, Jeff. He needs to be able to put it right back here on the inside, coming up onto the oval. They're going to go side by side through here, but it's going to be, oh no, look at way wide there for Strand as he gets loose and then recovers great back to the inside. Well, I think that Stewart thought that that Strand might be coming across to clip him and open the wheel up a little bit and lift it. Boy, as I said, things happen fast when the back end steps out on these cars. It's snap, isn't it? It really is. That short little wheelbase, it makes these things a handful. Just think about going over to your local indoor go-kart track and what it's like to run those cars and how snappy they are. Same thing here, but you're doing it at 150 miles an hour here on the oval. Well,
and the problem, of course, is for Stewart and Strand, all of that little bit of juking and jiving has really allowed McMahon to go away. And big problem there. That is the bus stop, and if you blow the bus stop, McMahon blew the bus stop, you've got to come to a stop, but he may have broken, actually, Jeff.
Yeah, looks like something might be wrong there. He's got his hand up. He's on the exit of the bus stop. Wow. Looks like a mechanical failure for your leader before one lap. There he is. He's got damage there to the right front.
Either that just broke, or did he maybe kiss the wall under braking for the bus stop? We were so focused on that battle for second.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happens there. You get right up against the wall as close as you can, and if that rear end just snaps out a little bit, you make some contact with the wall. It could have put his day over or just a mechanical failure. But look at the braking zone down here into turn number 1. Strand right to the outside and takes the lead over Calvin Stewart.
Oh, it's just amazing. You can put these cars pretty much anywhere here. And for Clint McMahon, again, after that second last year, 2 silvers, he just must be crushed sitting in that car knowing he had a quick car. I mean, his fast time was almost 4/10 quicker than anybody else. It was his today.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. The great thing about that is I guarantee you we'll see him back again next year at Mid-Ohio, because that's what it's all about. Cal Stewart starting to pressure Strand now. And Strand a little sideways there through the kink, not where you want to lose grip.
Yeah, it almost looked like he clipped that little bit of curbing in there. And again, these cars, such a short wheelbase, anything that upsets them like that, you get those instant wiggles.
Yeah, the instant wiggle, and it'll jerk the wheel right out of your hand. Talking to some of these drivers, you think that the last class we saw a little bit earlier today had some blisters on your hands. Wait till you see these guys when they get done driving, gripping these wheels and going back and forth and shifting to these cars. You see them come down out of NASCAR turn number 2 onto the straightaway, trying to see if we can see if McMahon was out of his car yet or not. No real place to go to once you get out of that car there in the bus stop.
Boy, look at Stewart coming, and one of the reasons is the last lap, he turned 152.5 miles an hour to Strand's 149 flat, and that's in turn 1. That's the number 91 has had it go wrong. Christopher Height in the Sidewinder. That's a Rotax machine, but fortunately kept it alive, Jeff, and drives off.
And Strand able to pull away there. There is a standing yellow down there because of that stranded car of McMahon. So no passing done through there. They'll show that for just a couple of laps to let all the drivers know that car is there. He's in a very, very safe location there on that little access road between the bus stop there. So once they show all the drivers that twice, they'll pull that yellow flag down.
By the way, just a note for Christopher Height, he's the Southeastern Division champion in this category. Had a horrific qualifying stretch. 2 problems in the first 2 sessions, never even got out. The third one was real slow and was able to get it up. But now we've got a change for the lead and a change for the lead in the matter of, 30 feet. That's how quick it happens here in this category. And you can see Stewart has an amazing top end right now, but Strand definitely has the braking covered.
Yeah, the kicker there, though, was that Cal was able to make that pass when he got around Strand before the stripe. So if he can stay with him in this position all race long, he'll have the advantage coming down to the checkered flag. So Strand able to get the pass back done in the braking zone of turn number 1, but Cal Stewart with a definite advantage on the straightaway.
And watching here now, Stewart driving right up behind. And again, Strand able to just be able to hang on here as they work through now. That is the International Horseshoe now toward that kink. And in these cars, boy, it is just, that was out of the West Horseshoe now up into turn 6 and back onto the banking as they come up here. And this is where Stewart just really is able to put it together. He got a great run out of 6, Jeff.
He did, and I'm one of those that I don't think Stewart wants to be ahead of him, but you don't want to give it up either as he goes to the outside, going to slingshot around Strand. Now can Strand catch him back into that braking zone, into the bus stop? We'll see if Strand can close back up and catch a little bit of a draft, or is Cal Stewart with that top end speed about 4 miles an hour quicker going to pull away?
Boy, I'll tell you, that was a combination of Stewart's exit up onto the banking and then the draft he was able to pull. And now you can see, though, the minute they get into the braking zones and the transition, Strand comes alive, gets a great run out of the bus stop. Now he's close enough to really feel a tow. Maybe he can benefit from that top end here. We saw that last lap, 2 position changes here in about 50 feet. Here we go, Strand drops low.
And see if this this is going to play out for both of these drivers on who wants to be in the front. Stewart able to muscle by and keep ahead of Strand there, even though Strand tried to make that pass. So now can he hold it through the infield? If Stewart can keep it down and ahead of Strand and get into the braking zone, there goes Strand right on the outside.
I'm wondering why Stewart is taking such a shallow entry in, because it means he's got to get on the brakes a lot sooner, and Strand just sweeps around the outside, even though Stewart on that lap just set fast lap of the race by 3/10 at a 2-minute 3.7. And boy, this is a good scrap here for fifth, led by Jeremy Morales.
Yeah, Jake Bickle right behind him, and followed, it looks like, I believe that's the 58 car of Corey McLeod.
Yeah, having a good scrap here. These throw the proverbial blanket over these guys here as they work out of turn one through the S's, and now into the international turn, and a big mover. Look by Jay Beckley down to the inside, and it got Morales to give up just a little bit in the corner. He thought he was going to come through and tag him, but not able to get the pass made, and Morales hangs on. But that really is, I think that has allowed McLeod to come right up into the battle here.
Yeah, you really see the different chassis makes, and you can see the different designs of these cars, all three with different layouts based on the bodywork as they have on these cars. So that shows you the different chassis and the different bodies and engineering that goes into these cars.
Yeah, you see some that are a little bit more upright where they want the car tall and narrow. You see others that want the car flat and wide, all in terms of this air management. And it all comes down to what plays the best. But that little bit of a battle there between McLeod and Beckley has allowed Morales now to ease away. A nice move there by McLeod, the 58, as he drives down underneath the number 62 of Beckley. And tell you one thing about Beckley, that's one of those invaders. That's a chassis that's been around a while, and no matter what, somebody comes up with new ideas and like that invader just always seems to be there.
Yeah, it really is, and I know in the Invader chassis too, your feet are actually right above your chest, so you really lay down in that car to get you really low.
Yep, that's all about how each designer, I guess, wants to try and manufacture the cars. You've got Scorpions, Invaders, Red Devils, Nova Cars, Rocket Techs, Rakavans. I mean, all kinds of, which is basically a version of the Nova car. You just spun it backwards there. But I mean, all of these chassis obviously are different. Plus you've got different driveline layouts, different motor configurations. This is really a designer's class, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. It's that home-built chassis designer class, having fun, engineering to see what you can make work. As our battle for the lead still, Strand over Stewart. I'm not sure, but Stewart led that last time by, so Strand still catching him down into number one. But I think that Stewart, like I said before, has the advantage because he's been able to lead at that line every single lap.
Well, and I think the key is here is that Stewart, if he's close enough coming out of six, he's got the speed to be able to go through and make the pass going into the bus stop. And if he leads out of the bus stop, he leads at the line. I think that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. He was able to lead out of the bus stop, and he was able to draft by Strand and get the lead too. As you see Strand just throwing that car down into the oval and letting it grip off and shoot off the oval here. Now we'll see if Cal Stewart can catch that draft again and maybe catch up to him on the bus stop there. You see Strand trying to break that draft. He's not really blocking there. He's just going back and forth, trying not to let Stewart get that draft.
But look at
that. How much he closes in, just creates that hole.
Well, and you can see the front end of Stewart's chassis, that Nova car, a lot less openings up there, so it's going to be a little bit more aero effective. And you can see Strand understands the deal there. That's why he's throwing that car around so hard on the infield, because he has to get enough of a margin made up. Boy, did he get a run out of the bus stop that time. That was fantastic.
Yeah, he really did. I saw him bouncing over the curbs and bouncing over the bumps through there, thinking that's not the fast way around, but he puts the power move and goes right around him. And here goes Stewart, speaking of power moves, catches a draft and goes to the outside. And here's that key again, gonna lead at the line once again.
Well, and I think you look at the back end of these two cars here. Look at the back end of Stewart's car, that Nova car. They've trimmed it and it falls away to close the air up. And on the back of the car of Strand's, that FDS, it's got a little bit of an uplift that's giving him grip in the infield. And I think that might be the key to the end of this one. Let's check in with Hayward as we get a big loose moment by Stewart, and that is the lack of grip at the back of the car. This one's fascinating, Hayward.
Real quick, one, some of the crews felt like McMahon's front suspension didn't look quite right when he rolled off grid, so he may have had a problem with that. The other idea that's on the pit lane right now is that Stewart may not want to fight in the infield. He knows he can pass on the oval, so he's giving up the position going into the infield so that he can have the draft back on the oval for each lap.
You know what? I think that's a real good point, Jeff, is you don't want to lead necessarily. And there's Stewart, no defense there. As soon as Strand got the run, Stewart just left the door open. He doesn't necessarily want to lead as they come up onto the banking.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to see too. It seems like you don't see him putting block moves on there. You don't see him too concerned when Strand gets around him. He just sort of like a Olay moment and let him go, and then he can get back on the oval and get the drafting. That's like I said before, it's the key that he is going to try to catch a little draft off that lap car as well.
Yeah, he's just going to, obviously this car right now is managing the air at speed incredibly well, but you can see once he gets down where he needs downforce, Stewart is struggling a lot on that infield. You see the back end stepping out, but right now I think he likes the mix at this point. The only problem is if you don't have some grip when you need it, you overheat those tires and you're working the brakes too hard, you know, there's still some race yet to go here.
And if you say I'm going to make that pass on that last lap and you make one little error, one little problem, and lose some space to Strand, you may not be able to recover by the line. So it's a delicate game you got to play there. I think it'd be better just to go as fast as you can and try to stay in front.
It's going to be a fun one all the way to the end here. I think this could be a race. It's 14 laps. We could see what 40 lead changes. Most of them unofficial, but it's going to be fun.
The funny thing is that Strand's led most of this race, but Cal Stewart's led more laps than Strand has. So that really tells you the time that these guys have crossed back and forth. And then leading at the stripe is there is Strand looking to the inside this time instead of making that outside pass. Gets it done once again. Yeah, it's just, I don't think with the way they've got the body work on that car for Stewart, he just doesn't have any grip. And, you know, downforce doesn't just help you getting through corners, braking zones. I mean, you have to brake sooner when you don't have downforce. As we go back to this great battle for fifth, once again, Morales still hanging on, but Corey McLeod continues to pressure, but it's now Jay Beckley got a great run, got around McLeod, and is just in short order has come right up on the back of Morales. Yeah, Morales down into turn number 1, leading this 3-car group over the number 62 of Jay Beckley. Beckley in the second car in this group, and that is our battle for fifth overall at the national championship. So even if these guys aren't fighting for a podium, still to get a 5th place here at the national championships is a great resume builder and a feather in the cap for these guys.
And just because we've completely ignored him because he's been far enough behind our overall leader and this couple of great battles here, James Wida is running a very solid 3rd in the Wida Apartments Formula X1 Scorpion Rotax machine, running in a very comfortable 3rd. As we continue to watch this great battle here for 5th, we're going to step away for just a moment, but we will be right back to Daytona International Speedway. The 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb, is being brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, driving matters.
16 wide eyes. Driver's license took 2 tries, bought a Roadster secondhand. Playing parties with the band, loaded up, off to state. Hijinks, tailgates, starter, midsize, family cruising. Now in the garage, something new reminds you of when you were you.
It's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You wish the freeway on-ramp was your personal racetrack. Well, buckle up, buddy, because the Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and events across the country, the SCCA has all the excitement you can handle. Dance the blacktop two-step with SCCA Solo. Get down and dirty with SCCA Rallycross. Or go wheel-to-wheel with SCCA Club Racing. Hit the track with the SCCA, where America's best drivers race.
Welcome back to the 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb here at Daytona International Speedway. Coverage brought to you by Mazda. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Jeff Lepper, and down in pit lane is Hayward Wagner. And we have ourselves a cracker of a race unfolding here in our battle for the medals in Formula 500. And this is the story as it's been. We've been watching it out of the infield, up onto the banking. Calvin Stewart in that white car wants Matthew Strand to lead. Stewart is significantly quicker on the banking, and I kind of think right now Stewart might be good. How far back am I okay being to be able to still make that run through? And you can see he can be 20 car lengths back in that slippery car, then catches the draft, and he's through easily before the bus stop.
Yeah, it's weird that, like you said, you see that gap that they had there through NASCAR turn number 2. Cal Stewart's led almost every lap of this race, although he's only led on this section of the course, and then you'll see Strand get a better run out of the bus stop, get him around, try to get around him maybe, and then you'll see Stewart tuck back in behind Strand and then make that pass again once at the stripe. But this is interesting how this is playing out this time.
Yeah, I think that Stewart needs to be a little bit careful here, because if he's back far enough, and if he can make that, he makes that pass as a late braking move down into the bus stop. We've been watching Strand. He's really fast through the bus stop, and if he fights it and comes through and there's contact, Stewart might end up off into the grass, and that could be a real issue for him. So I think that's what he's really exploring right now, is what can I do? For the first time in a while here, Stewart has been able to lead under braking down into turn 1.
Now also remember too, these are 10-inch wheels, so they have a very, very small brake disc on this. You don't want to overheat those brakes, so any one of these drivers, including Strand or Stewart, could overheat the brake rotors on these cars and then possibly have some brake fade, and that can throw your whole championship race away as well.
And it's interesting there, isn't it? Every time you see Stewart, ooh, this is the first time we've seen a little bit of potential. Archie-bargy. That was incredibly close. Now Strand comes through with aggression, but every time Strand makes the move, Calvin Stewart, you see him looking over his shoulder at him, and he just leaves a ton of room, because he says, I don't need to fight him. If I get a run, I'm going to try and get back around him, but I'm not going to fight him when he comes up through, because I know I've got top end. And the question is, we're seeing Strand, Jeff, just throw that car around down on the infield here. And that FDS Suzuki is so quick in the infield, but he's working it incredibly hard. That means on those brakes, working the tires hard, every component in there.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, this is only a 10-inch wheel, so not a lot of rubber either on the track here. You don't want to overheat that, but you see Stewart just pull away. You'll see Strand try to close back in here in the bus stop, and I think this is going to play out for the next 6 laps.
Well, that last time by, when Strand actually was a little closer and could draft Stewart a little bit, he turned his fastest trap speed 153. He hadn't been up over 150 until that time through. So, they're playing the game here. And Strand, if he can stay close, he gets a little bit of a benefit. Boy, I'd like to get that nose up there and bend that back up just a little bit and get some drag on.
I think that's what he was trying to do there, a little bump draft there through turn number 3. And you haven't seen that in the F500 class in a little while, but tucked right up on there.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That's a good point, too, is you got that drop body work on it, but underneath the car is a diffuser, and if you clock that, obviously you can damage the diffuser. Then you get spill out of the diffuser, and the handling goes even farther adrift. Finally, we get a little time to spend talking about James Weida right now in that Scorpion Rotax entry. And Jeff, we were talking about it at the top of the show, a couple of gold medals for this guy. Most recent one, 2013 Road America in this class. A very, very good driver, qualified back in the 4th spot. And he's just been kind of lonely out there right now.
Yeah, he really is, sort of just driving around hoping that maybe the 2 guys in front of him will have a problem and he'll benefit from that. You never know what might happen. That's for sure, but doing a good job. Was also your Great Lakes Division champion in 2012 and 2013 in the F500 class. So a lot of stuff, a lot of success for that driver in the F500 class. Another driver we haven't talked much about either is Dave Lapham in that number 6. So Lapham back in 4th place, working his way just 1 place away from a podium.
Yeah, he's one of those mega hungry guys. 3 times he's gotten the silver medal draped around his neck, but never that gold. And the last one, I think, was in '98 at Mid-Ohio in this category. So, yeah, he's a guy who'd like to step it up just a little bit. But right now, he just does not have the pace he needs to run with these guys at this stage, I don't think.
Yeah, David actually beat my dad to a podium position at the SCCA Runoffs way back in, I think that was the late 80s, running in the Showroom Stock A category. So it was, I remember talking with Dave Lapham back then when I was a kid.
Boy, look at this. Strand this time comes through, and as we'll be completing a lap 10 with 4 to go this time by, and he's got a pretty good margin. And there he is now, comfortably out in front. Now the question is for Calvin Stewart, is this just a test again as he's trying to see how far he can come back from? And there was a little bit of traffic they were working there. May have just balked Stewart just a little bit. But look at that, from how far back with that top end speed, he is just able to drive by at this point. Curious to see what we see for a top speed coming through that time. 155.3 by Stewart. That's the fastest time that he has turned. That's just ridiculously quick.
It is, and like I told with Hayward Wagner a little bit over earlier in our recap show, that's a little sketchy there on Monday. I can't, the small little wheelbase 10-inch tires, you're seeing an inch off the ground and you're doing 155 miles an hour through the oval. I got to think he's got a big smile on his face.
Oh, you got to be loving it, but that is approaching sort of the insanity, the old supercar days here at Daytona, isn't it? Unbelievable. The speeds that these guys are running. But then again, under braking, you see Strand able to just use that little bit better stick on that car and come through. And you can see, when we get a close-up of the rear deck of that white 07, you can see that that rear bodywork just absolutely drops down right on top of that diffuser. There is absolutely no downforce being generated from the upper bodywork. It's all what little bit there is through that diffuser. It is being slippery.
Yeah, very slippery, and it falls right off, and that's really helping the aero. So where you do talk about the different cars and the different makes of cars when they're going through the oval here and how they set it up on the road course versus oval, it looks like Cal Stewart has the advantage on the oval versus the road course.
And there, it looked like he was in a position he maybe could have made a move on it and just lifted a little bit to not find himself as Strand again, the back end rotating around right there as he just is throwing everything at this, as we are now going to complete lap 11 of 14. And once again, you see Strand, and it looks like there's no way that this margin can be run down here. And then suddenly Stewart, that slippery car, and he starts picking up the toe, and now it might just be a double toe as they come up on some lap traffic here. And here comes Stewart. And look at the closing rate that he has right now. He's swinging up way high. Boom. That would have, if that was the checker, and I think that's what Stewart's doing, is studying right now. But then because he has no downforce on the car, he's got to lift a lot sooner. And Strand goes through, and Strand just, he knows, I've got to gap him in this infield.
Yeah, he really does, and I got to feel frustrated for Matthew Strand. He probably was like, I'm going to lead a lap. I'm finally going to lead a lap. And then right at the line, he got clipped again. Cal Stewart, like I said, has led almost every lap here. However, it's been Cal Stewart, the first one across the line. So it's just that little space on the thing, and that's what matters when you're racing for a national championship.
Yep, be there at the finish. That's what counts. And here we go. So it'll be an interesting way to, so how was your national championship? Well, I led every lap, but I was actually second on the track for, almost 90% of the race. But you lead it where you need to lead it. And this is interesting here, just watching Calvin study a little bit at this stage. And again, boy, I tell you though, I am loving watching Matthew Strand. He knows what he has to do. He knows it may be near impossible, and he is giving it everything he can. He's a joy to watch that car control out there right now.
And if he could just try to get a big enough gap to where Cal can't catch him, or possibly makes a mistake in the bus stop, he'll be able to stretch that lead around. But here comes Cal Stewart once again, and you'll see him let off a little bit before that bus stop, I think, just to stay in behind him.
Well, I think what Strand needs to do is somehow get some traffic between himself and Stewart and have that traffic box Stewart a little bit. I mean, really, that's his play. And boy, he gets through that bus stop incredibly well. Now, he'll get through that traffic, but the problem is, if you don't do it on the infield or in the bus stop, as you pointed out, Jeff, this track's so wide with these little Formula 500 cars, there's tons of room for Stewart to find a way and just work by all that traffic. It's going to, I think, if there's any shot for Strand, it's going to come down to when he gets traffic. And here comes Stewart now, and as they come up on this clump of traffic, this might be one time where Stewart does not want to let Strand through, because if he can trap Strand behind the traffic, which is entirely possible here, this might be a little bit of a difference. But here comes Strand. He is coming with a huge head of speed down the inside of Stewart. That's one of the lap cars they've cleared. There's another one sitting right up front, and this is Strand is just hoping somehow try and time this pass and not let Stewart through. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I got to think Stewart saw Strand coming there in his mirror and opened the door a little bit for Strand there, because I thought we might have had a little bit of an incident there coming down to turn number 1, but good heads up by both drivers.
Yeah, that closing speed of Strand, I thought you were absolutely right. If Stewart hadn't let him through, that we may have had that bump that they've somehow managed to avoid here. And Strand just diamonding these corners, trying to get that plant, get the power down a little bit sooner. And of course, Stewart with that arrow just trying to keep the flow going here through the infield as best he can.
I sure like that old Super V air scoop on the side of that Formula 500 chassis car there. So I got a good chance to see that coming down that little short chute between the west horseshoe and then onto the oval.
Boy, did Strand get some rotation and just kept his boot in it. That car sideways, you can see him just leaving that big black mark. As we have about a lap and 2/3 to go here. And this one has been fun to call. You just have this sense of inevitability, don't you? Although it's been a blast to watch. But here comes Stewart. Gets right up behind and then just stops.
Yeah, I think he's buying his time, comes down into the bus stop here very easily as he comes down through the braking zone. Using a little bit of curb, but not that exit curb a lot to really smooth out the suspension, let it calm down to get onto the oval, try to catch that draft again. We'll see if Callum Stewart can lead another lap as he led 11 of the 12 laps so far here.
It's going to be interesting. Still got a long way to go, all the way through Speedway 4, then the little chute, then heading into the tri-oval. Here comes Stewart, the speed building. Here he comes. He looks to the high side. He goes to the low side. Nope, he's going to lead this one too. As Strand tucks in, you see the white flag fly. One more lap. And Stewart, that time it looked like he just purposely braked way early to let Strand go, not have any issues here. And Strand, I'll tell you, the heartfelt drive of the race unfolding before us right now, and the calibrated drive of the race unfolding right behind him.
Yeah, but I don't think Strand's going to be so nice on the oval coming this last lap through the last time through that oval. You may open the door every lap before that, but this next lap by you are going to slam the door as he comes out of NASCAR turn number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. That driver they just went by, you saw that handout. I'm giving you that whole lane, guys. Don't worry about it. Go after it here. Now, this is into the west horseshoe, and just keep an eye here. Watch what Strand does. It's just been fascinating how early he's picking up the throttle, and if the car steps out, it doesn't matter. Rotated, that time a little bit tighter, and maybe he didn't scrub as much speed, and he gets a great run out. And Stewart, this time he's a ways back here on this final lap. And Strand, what if Strand has been playing a little bit too and actually had a little bit more in reserve here? And it's going to be interesting to see. Who knows? It may not just be Stewart that was, playing the study game here, Jeff.
Yeah, Stewart's not on his back bumper yet, and I don't think he got a chance to utilize that draft coming into the bus stop. But there he starts to close that gap a little bit down into the bus stop. Going to make that left to back to the right, and it's one of those things. We know how this is going to play out. Strand way loose as he snaps it off into the grass.
That's it, and that just killed. Now he got into that deep muck out there, and there's just, you could see it just drag the speed right out of that car. He had to try it. He had to throw everything he could at it, and now he drops low. He's forcing Stewart high, but can he tuck in behind Stewart now and maybe get a little bit of the draft here? This could be interesting. Let's see what happens. Stewart's got top end. I don't think Strand's going to be able to do it. Not enough, and Stewart will bring home the win, but it didn't go quite the way Stewart was envisioning, I don't think. And it was because Strand, too much speed into the bus stop trying to salvage something, and it almost messed up Calvin Stewart's plan.
Yeah, he really had to. Strand had no choice but to get through that bus stop and try to get a little bit of a gap. But Cal Stewart played the strategy of this race perfectly and getting that national championship win. Here's a replay. Let's watch Strand as he eats a lot of that curb on the inside there, and that car just started to rotate to the next side, takes over a cam, and you saw the rear tires laying down some black stripes there through the exit of the bus stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when he ran into that dirt, you could just see that just kind of sucked the speed right out of that car. But I think that suddenly concerned Stewart, because he came by and he came up on him. It was like, I've got to pass him. I can't lift because then I lose all that momentum. So he had to pass him, I think, a lot sooner than he wanted. I think Stewart was a little worried maybe about Strand being able to get some sort of a draft and stay with him. But that top end of Calvin Stewart's number 07 Novacar Blade Suzuki powered F600 machine, I'll tell you, it was just too much. And I think it was probably a little less outright power than it was aero. That car, that is one trimmed out machine. That's a Daytona special right there.
It really is, and he earns his first career Runoffs championship gold medal. Congratulations to Cal Stewart.
Yep, a third in 2001. his only previous medal. And that fist has not been unclenched this entire lap yet as he is celebrating. He's had thirds, he's had fourths, he's always had speed, but it finally comes good, and with a very trick piece of kit, as they say.
He's had mechanical failures, crashes, not able to get the laps completed. Finally puts it together here, and it's strategy on the body work, on how they made the aero of this car, strategy on how he drove this race that got him the win here at Daytona International Speedway.
Yep. And I mean, a large chunk of that race, I think, was he was just studying what kind of options do I have? I know I've got top end. How far back can I be? Where do I need to have that car placed? You flip-flop it for Matthew Strand. It was a flat-out exercise. The man was absolutely on it. And like I said, I think Strand was, going, the only thing I can do here is drive the wheels off this thing and hope, because it's straight up here. I'm not going to win this thing. But he was brilliant. And that save he made in the bus stop, coming through there, Cal, that was, when Calvin was pushing him, Jeff, that obviously was huge to be able to make that save. But we'd seen that kind of car control from him this entire race. I mean, that to me is the driver of the race thus far, that second place, because that was a clinic in car control.
Yeah, well-earned silver medal for Strand. You can't say he didn't earn that medal. Led 90% of this race. Unfortunately, just didn't lead a lap across the stripe. So Michael Strand, second place. Cal Stewart, your winner in the F500 class. As you see him coming up, getting his interview here. He'll take his victory lap a little bit later and then get that gold medal around the neck for Formula 500, as James Weida able to get that third place, another podium for that driver.
Yep, absolutely. And you see Stewart now going to peel that helmet off, and that means Hayward Wagner is waiting for him. And Hayward, as soon as he can here, is going to get in and get a word. Boy, that's a tight little cockpit there, trying to get the Hans device off. And it looks like Hayward now is ready as Stewart sits up, and there's the yell.
Calvin, an absolutely brilliant race. It seemed like everyone else was playing checkers. You were playing chess. Talk about your strategy.
Man, I knew we had the top. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I knew we had the top. All I had to do was let him go through in the infield, stay with them, and draft by him in the end. Our strategy worked perfect. Praise the Lord for allowing us to be here. Thank you, Jesus.
I want to ask you about your strategy in the infield. It seemed like you did not at all want to lead into turn one. You wanted to make sure you got to follow through. Was that the case, and why?
Absolutely. There was no reason for me to lead because he could draft me, and I know he could stay with me in a draft, and he could go as fast as I could. So it made more sense for me to let him go and get a good slingshot and win it.
Talk to me just real quick about this car. Obviously, the numbers showed that you had a big advantage on the bank. Staying on top of the building and watching the closing speed, it looks like cars from different classes at the Daytona 24. What did you guys do differently than everybody else?
Well, we spent over a year and a half doing CFD studies in the computer to make sure that this was the most aerodynamic car on the field. And it clearly has more straight line speed because of the aerodynamics. We all have the same engine.
Now, you were on the podium in 2001. You've been with Jay Novak for a lot of years. What does it mean to win the national championship in his car?
Oh, praise the Lord. Our first time going to the Runoffs was in '94. Jay Novak has done a tremendous job of building cars. I've had so much fun developing cars with him over the years, and this is his best effort so far. Thank you, Jay Novak, and praise the Lord that we're even here.
All right, Cal, you've got one more lap you've got to do. This one's holding the flag as a national champion. Congratulations.
And thank you. Woohoo!
All right, we're going to step over here to Matthew Strand up next. Matthew getting the patch pinned on. Matthew, was that the most frustrating 40 minutes of your entire?
Yeah, that was pretty rough. I mean, we knew coming into it that car is just a bullet in a straight line. So, I mean, there on the last lap, I had one choice. It was either lifting the bus stop or just hand him the checkered. So I just kept my foot flat and hope it would stick, and just that close. That close, I might have had the run.
The guys calling in the booth really talked about your turn 6 a lot, moving the car around a lot on the entry of the corner so you could get the better launch. Did you feel like if you could make enough of a gap there that you could hold him off, or was this just strictly you were going to sit in his sights the whole time?
Well, that was actually something I figured out. I got one of my sponsors here, Simcraft, and they have their simulator in our pit. And I did a lot of laps with them over the week, and that was just a line that I found worked for this car. Pretty much all I could do was just maximize my exit speed through the infield and try to get away from him. It just didn't work.
Well, great drive. Congratulations on a second-place finish here at the SCCA Runoffs. We got one more driver we need to talk to. This is James Weida. If I can get a word with James just real quick, guys. James, did you have any vision for what was going on in front of you during this race?
I brought a knife to a gunfight, that's for sure. Yellow car was hustling it and had probably a 10-car length lead coming out of 6, and Calvin would just motor by him. I mean, it was like he was running with a huge horsepower motor. I mean, unbelievable.
How much were you hoping that those two guys would have a moment of indiscretion and leave you an opportunity?
That was the only chance I had. I mean, I was just watching their whole race. I mean, I didn't have anybody really to race with, and that's about all I could hope for was them to, make contact and I get by.
Well, congratulations to you on a podium finish here at the Runoffs. You're running the old 500 motor, correct? So the top of the Rotax finishers here at the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb. Guys, our top 2 finishers here in Formula 5, one of them spent time on the computer designing the car, the other spent time in the simulator learning the course, and I think that showed up in their driving today.
In a low-tech class in technicality.
Well, not anymore. When you're doing carbon fluid dynamics on the computer to design your body for Daytona International Speedway. That shows you the link that some of these guys will do to win a national championship.
Let's take a look at those results here. Calvin Stewart, Strand, and Weida. That is your podium. Dave Lapham, again, a solid 4th-place finish for another very experienced driver. And Jeremy Morales was under attack that entire race and somehow was able to hang on to that 5th-place finish over McLeod. Strait, Napier, Walbrand fought his way up into the 9th spot, and Ted Simmons completing the top 10 at this point. And I'll tell you what, a fascinating study of different approaches, obviously, here. And Calvin, he needs to learn to cheer up. That was a fun winner's interview, wasn't it?
I think he's waited so long to try to get this championship. 21 years since his first Runoffs. He finally gets it done, and you see how excited he is.
I don't think he's going to stop. I think he's just, this next races are going to have to wait because he's going to just keep doing lap after lap here. And here's what happened. The pole sitter, though, we really haven't talked about him. Clint McMahon, he had a great lap during qualifying, Jeff, and who knows what may have happened there. That was the first of some magical saves by Mr. Strand, but here was the real story of the race.
Yeah, it really was. Cal Stewart able to work that draft and the aerodynamics that they built into the body of this car working to the advantage. And there was Strand, said he had to go flat through the bus stop was his only hope, and he missed it by that much.
Yes, indeed. And that was the margin of victory at the end, and that is the man who clinched the Formula 500 championship, his first, after coming so close so many times. So a tremendous day of execution for Calvin Stewart. But again, if there is a Drive of the Event award, my candidate so far has to go to Matthew Strand. That was a clinic, an exercise in car control. Absolutely a joy to watch. What a battle here in Formula 500. What a joy to be able to call it here at the SCCA Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb and brought to you by Mazda. Again, Jeff, absolutely fantastic for Jeff Lepper, for Hayward Wagner. I'm Greg Creamer. It's been a treat, and we got lots more to come. We'll see you next time. The 2015 SCCA National Championship Runoffs, presented by Garmin Verb, is being brought to you by Mazda. Mazda, driving matters.
16 wide eyes. Driver's license, took 2 tries, bought a Roadster secondhand. Playing parties with the band, loaded up, off to state. Hijinks, tailgates, starter, midsize, family cruising. Now in the garage, something new reminds you of when you were you.
It's time to face facts. You're a gearhead. You wish the freeway on-ramp was your personal racetrack. Well, buckle up, buddy, because the Sports Car Club of America wants you. With 40,000 members and events across the country, the SCCA has all the excitement you can handle. Dance the blacktop two-step with SCCA Solo. Get down and dirty with SCCA Rallycross. Or go wheel-to-wheel with SCCA Club Racing. Hit the track with the SCCA, where America's best drivers race.